They always looked down on me, his family, the ones who made me feel small. They never thought I was good enough for him. But the moment I stepped into that room, everything changed. No one expected the truth to come out, and when it did, it shattered their perfect image forever. My name is Kennedy, and tonight was supposed to be different. A family dinner, a chance for all of us to sit together and celebrate, or so Ethan promised. But the moment I stepped into his parents' house, I felt it, the same coldness, the same judgment. His family never fully accepted me, and I had long since learned to ignore the silent sneers and the passive-aggressive comments. "Kennedy, you made it," his mom said with that tight smile of hers. A smile that never reached her eyes. It was as if she had to remind herself to be polite, like she was doing me a favor by acknowledging my presence. "Of course, I'm here," I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm, but the words felt forced. I wasn't sure why I bothered anymore. They never really made me feel welcome, not since the first day I met them. The room was filled with small talk and the clink of silverware, but the tension hung thick in the air. I could feel it in every glance they exchanged, in every pause when my name was mentioned. They had a way of making me feel invisible and then making sure I noticed. It was their subtle art of rejection. Ethan sat beside me, his arm around my shoulders, but even his touch felt distant tonight. His family was watching, analyzing, waiting for me to make a mistake, to confirm their suspicions about me. I tried to block them out, but it was impossible. They didn't even try to hide it. "So, Kennedy," his sister Sarah said, leaning forward with that insincere curiosity she always put on, "how's your work going? Still doing that little graphic design thing?" I clenched my jaw. "It's going great, actually," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I've been working on a few big projects lately." Her eyes narrowed slightly, and I knew that she was about to say something to put me in my place. "Oh, that's nice," she replied, her tone dripping with condescension. "I didn't know that kind of thing actually paid." I swallowed the hurt and tried to smile, but I could feel the anger rising in my chest. No matter how much I tried, no matter how hard I worked to be accepted, it was never enough for them. It never would be. Ethan must have sensed the change in my mood because he turned to me, his face softening. "Don't listen to her, babe, you're doing amazing." But even his words couldn't completely drown out the sting. His family had a way of making me feel like I was always an outsider, a visitor in their world. I had married Ethan, but I hadn't married into their family. I was never going to be good enough for them. I watched his mom as she carefully avoided eye contact, pretending to be absorbed in her salad. Her passive aggression always felt like a knife twist. "Ethan," I finally said, my voice quieter than I wanted, "how long are we staying tonight?" His hand tightened around mine, a silent apology in his grip. He didn't know what to say, and I didn't blame him. "Just a little longer," he murmured. I nodded, but I could already feel my chest tightening. The evening had barely begun, and I already felt drained. I was tired of the games, tired of pretending that everything was fine. "I'm just going to go freshen up," I said, standing up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. No one protested. No one even looked up. As I walked toward the bathroom, I could feel their eyes on me, still following my every move. When I stepped into the bathroom, I closed the door behind me and leaned against it for a moment, trying to breathe through the frustration. This wasn't what I had imagined when I married Ethan. I had hoped his family would eventually come around, that they would see me for who I really was. But after all this time, I knew better. They would never see me as anything but an outsider. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. What was I doing here? Why did I keep putting myself through this? Was it because I loved Ethan? Or was I just trying to force a family that would never accept me? I didn't have the answers. All I knew was that the weight of their judgment was starting to suffocate me. I was tired of being the one who bent, who tried to fit into their mold. I took a deep breath, straightening up. I had to stop letting them make me feel small. Tonight, I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I wasn't going to play the game they had set up for me. I didn't need their approval. When I stepped back into the living room, Ethan was talking to his dad. I felt their eyes turn toward me immediately, but I wasn't going to back down this time. I walked back to my seat with my head held high, ignoring the cold glances, the whispered judgments. For once, I wasn't going to let them break me. I felt the tension in the room shift again, thicker now as Ethan's mom cleared her throat. It was the same routine every time, her subtle digs, her way of making me feel like an outsider. But tonight I couldn't ignore it. I didn't know what had changed, but I couldn't stay silent any longer. "So, Kennedy," she started, her voice too sweet for what was about to come, "how's that little art career of yours going? Still managing to pay the bills with all those creative projects?" I swallowed hard. trying to keep my expression neutral. But my heart was pounding in my chest. Ethan shifted beside me, but didn't say anything. He never said anything when his mom did this. He just sat there like he didn't notice how her words made me feel smaller every time. "I'm doing fine, thank you," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I wasn't going to let her see that it bothered me, not tonight. Her smile never faltered, but her eyes were cold, calculating. "That's good to hear, honey. I mean, we were just talking the other day about how hard it is to make a living in a field like that, such a gamble. Don't you think? Not many people get lucky enough to succeed in those kinds of jobs." I felt my face flush, but I kept my mouth shut. The frustration was building up inside me, but I wasn't ready to explode, not yet. But then the whispers started. Ethan's dad and sister exchanged looks, and before I knew it, the entire family was chiming in. My upbringing, my job, my appearance, everything I had worked so hard to overcome, to prove I was more than what they saw. "They've been together for years now," his sister Sarah said, her tone dripping with judgment. "But I guess they haven't really figured out how to support each other, have they? I mean, with her job situation." My hands clenched in my lap. I could feel my blood pressure rising. The room closing in on me. I wasn't sure how much longer I could stay calm. "Enough, Sarah," Ethan finally spoke up, but his voice didn't have the same firmness it usually did. He sounded almost apologetic, like he was afraid of rocking the boat, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "Why do you all do this? Why can't you just leave me alone?" My voice cracked, and I hated that it did, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. I've tried so hard to make you see me for who I am, not who you think I am. But it's never enough, is it?" The room went silent. I could feel their eyes on me, their judgment hanging in the air like a thick fog. Ethan didn't say anything, just sat there, his eyes downcast. "You think I don't know what you say behind my back?" I took a step forward, my voice gaining strength with each word. "You think I don't hear the whispers about my job, my past, my lack of potential? You've made me feel small for years, and I'm done with it." Ethan's mom opened her mouth to say something, but I cut her off. "No, I'm done. You've never accepted me. You've never seen me for who I am, and I've spent so much of my life trying to get you to. But I'm not going to do it anymore." The words spilled out, and I couldn't stop them. "I don't need your approval. I don't need any of you to tell me I'm not good enough. I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. And I don't need you to remind me how I don't fit into your perfect little world." The silence that followed was suffocating. I wanted to walk out, to leave the house and never look back, but I stayed, because for the first time, I had said what I needed to say. "Ethan," I said, my voice quieter now, "if you don't understand why I'm so hurt, then maybe you need to think about who you're standing with." I looked at him, waiting for him to say something, anything, but he didn't. He just stared at the floor, avoiding my eyes. And that was all I needed to know. I turned to face his family one last time. "I don't know if I'll ever be good enough for you, but I'm not going to apologize for that anymore. I'm not the woman you've tried to make me into. I'm me, and I'm done trying to fit into your world." I left the room, my footsteps loud in the silence. As I stepped outside, I felt the cool night air on my face, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. I could feel the tension at the table like a heavy weight pressing down on me. Ethan's mom was still fuming, Sarah's eyes were narrowed, and his dad was staring at me, his lips twisted in disapproval. The air was thick with unspoken words, the kind that cut deeper than anything they could say aloud. I turned to Ethan, hoping he would speak up, hoping he would be the one to defend me, but instead he just sat there, looking at me with that hesitant expression on his face, the one he always wore when he didn't want to get involved. "Ethan," I said, my voice trembling with the frustration I could barely contain, "say something." He glanced at his family and then back at me, but instead of defending me, he just gave me a sad, almost apologetic look. "I don't know what to say, Kennedy. It's not that simple." I felt the sharp sting of disappointment in my chest. Not that simple. Of course it wasn't to him, it never was. He didn't understand. He didn't see it the way I did. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. The noise felt like a declaration, a breaking point. "It's not simple because you've never had to choose between me and them. You've always let them treat me like this. Always stood by and watched as they belittled me. I had to fight for everything: your love, your respect, a place in your family, and all you did was watch." I could feel my heart pounding, but I didn't care anymore. His family had made me feel invisible, but in this moment, I was done pretending I didn't feel it. Ethan stood up too, but there was hesitation in his every movement. "Kennedy, please." he said softly, trying to reach for my hand. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm just saying this isn't easy for me either. I pulled my hand away, my chest tightening. It wasn't easy for me either, Ethan. But you never saw that, did you? You never saw how much I had to fight to even be here, and now. You don't know how to stand up for me when it counts. His eyes flickered with guilt, but it wasn't enough. The weight of his silence, of his constant inaction, was too much to bear. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. He had been complicit in this, not intentionally, maybe, but complicit. All the same, I've been looking for your approval my whole life, I said, my voice low but steady. I thought if I tried hard enough, if I played by their rules, you'd finally see me. But I was wrong. I've been looking for validation from the wrong people. You were the one I should have been looking at all along. But now I see that I don't need any of you. I don't need your family's approval to be happy. His face softened, but it didn't matter anymore. The words I had been holding back for so long spilled out, raw and unfiltered. You never fought for me, Ethan. You never fought for us. And you know what? I don't think I can fight anymore. Not for you, not for them, not for anything. I turned away, walking toward the door. I could hear Ethan calling my name, but it felt distant, like the words didn't belong to him anymore. When I stepped outside into the cool night air, I took a deep breath for the first time. I wasn't trying to shrink back into myself. I wasn't trying to make myself smaller, more palatable for them. I had spent too many years seeking validation from people who would never accept me, who would always find something to judge, but I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't the woman who waited in the shadows for approval. I was someone different now. I had spent so long questioning my worth, questioning who I was because of their doubts. But tonight, for the first time, I realized something. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need anyone's approval to feel like I mattered. I was enough. Just as I was. I closed my eyes, letting the wind hit my face. I didn't have all the answers, but in this moment, I knew one thing for sure. I had to find my own worth, away from their influence. No one else could give that to me but me. The night felt quieter now. The tension, the frustration, the weight, they all started to fade as I stood there. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew it would be mine to shape. I couldn't shake the feeling of defeat as I sat in the car, the sound of the engine humming in the background. Ethan was beside me, but the distance between us had never felt so vast. The dinner had ended in silence. I could still feel the weight of everything left unsaid, the tension hanging like a thick fog that neither of us dared to confront. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. Kennedy, please don't shut me out. I know things have been difficult, but I never meant for it to get this far. I turned to face him, but it wasn't just disappointment I felt. It was a deep, aching sadness. You never meant for it to get this far, but it has, Ethan. It's not about the things you meant anymore. It's about what's been happening all along. He looked at me, his eyes pleading, but there was something almost defensive in his gaze. I get that you're hurt, but I never thought you'd actually leave. I thought you'd just let it slide like always. I didn't think you'd stand up for yourself. His words hit me like a slap. I felt the truth seep into my bones, sharp and undeniable. You didn't think I'd stand up for myself? I asked, my voice cracking, but I couldn't stop it. The hurt that had been festering inside me for so long finally broke free. You thought I'd just take it, right? That I'd stay quiet and let your family treat me however they wanted? Ethan's face softened, but his voice was still tentative. No, that's not what I meant. I guess I didn't think it would get to this point. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. I've been waiting for you to defend me, Ethan. Waiting for you to stand up for me, to stand against them, but you never did, and the truth is, I've been fighting for myself all along, haven't I? I've been waiting for you to fight, but you didn't, and I just kept accepting it. The silence between us stretched on. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. But now, it wasn't with anger, it was with clarity. For the first time, everything seemed to make sense. I've been trying to earn their approval, I said softly, the weight of the words settling over me. I've been trying to prove that I belong, that I'm worthy of being here, but all I've done is lose myself in the process. And I'm tired, Ethan. I'm tired of pretending that this is okay. Ethan was silent for a moment, his face torn. Kennedy, I never meant to hurt you. I thought you knew that. But I guess I've been part of the problem, haven't I? I didn't realize how much this was affecting you until now. I looked at him, really looked at him. There was guilt in his eyes, but no understanding, no recognition of the years I had spent trying to belong, trying to fit into a family that had never accepted me. I wanted you to stand by me, Ethan, but I shouldn't have needed that. I should have been enough for myself. The weight of the realization crashed over me. I'm not going to lose myself in this anymore. I love you, but I've spent too much of my life waiting for your family to see me. To see us, but I can't keep doing this. He reached for my hand, his touch desperate. But I pulled away. You've never really seen me, Ethan. Not in the way I needed you to. And I've let that slide for too long. I don't want to lose you, he whispered, his voice breaking. Please, Kennedy, don't walk away. But I could feel it now, the truth I had ignored for so long. I wasn't walking away from him. I was walking away from the version of myself I had been for him. The person I had molded to fit into a world that wasn't mine. I'm not walking away from you, Ethan, I said. My voice steady despite the lump in my throat. I'm walking toward who I am, toward who I was always meant to be. I've spent too long chasing something that was never meant for me, and I'm done. I opened the car door and stepped out into the night, the cold air hitting my skin like a reminder of how far I had come. For the first time, I felt the weight of everything I had carried, the fear, the self-doubt, the need for approval lifting from my shoulders. I had always been enough. I had always been worthy. And now, I knew I could stand on my own. The door closed behind me, and as I walked away, I didn't look back. I wasn't running away from Ethan. I was running toward the person I was meant to be, a future that was mine to define.